Hey, GED students, man, does this ever look like the GED math test? Word problem, table, multiple choice. Looks like we're writing with algebra. We're translating. So much going on. Okay, so I want you to breathe. We're going to go through this together step by step. And remember, a lot of times we don't need everything. We just need a piece per problem. And that's what we're going to see here. So for numbers 20 through 21, the table outlines the prices of bait fish on the dock this month, the weight of each case in pounds, and the approximate number of fish in each case. And indeed, we see that here in this table on the right-hand side. We see that we have some names of some fish, some bait fish, the case size, and that little hash mark, because you're used to calling it the pound sign or the hashtag sign. That means the same as pounds. It's an abbreviation. So 36 pounds, 40 pounds, yada, yada. Then we have the case count, 40 through 50, 12 through 18. That's the number of fish in a case. Not pounds, but each, like if you were counting them. And then, of course, our case price. So first problem here, Marciano has $1,620 to spend on fuel and bait for the week. He needs 200 gallons of fuel, which is currently selling for $4.25 per gallon. Which inequality could be used to find H, the number of cases of herring he can purchase and remain within his budget? So extra credit if you know who Marciano is and why he's buying bait fish and what Kate's new TV addiction is. But anyway, let's go ahead and write this sucker. Now, the man only has $1,620 to spend. And I want you to look at these multiple choice answers here. They're asking us to write inequalities, which would be tricky if I was doing it from scratch. However, I'm not doing it from scratch, right? They wrote it for us, so I just have to be able to read the language, not necessarily write it. And notice something here about all of them. All of them have 1,620 on the right-hand side of the inequality. Okay, so we know this man is going to spend some money. And we know that he needs to spend that $1,620 or less. So the first thing I just want to do is look for inequalities that make sure that they say that the money he spends is going to be less than or equal to, right? He can't go over $1,620. And I can see two of them have the right symbol here, the less than or equal to symbol. And this is one of the big reasons I say to you guys, we need to graduate from the little alligator symbol method of knowing which way to go and be able to read these suckers, because we're reading inequalities like a language. But we have a less than or equal to symbol on A and a less than or equal to symbol on C. But look at B. B says the money that he spends has got to be greater than or equal to 1,620. If B is not going to work, because if he spends more than $1,620, he's not going to be able to feed his family, as you know, if you watch the show that I watch. And so I am going to go ahead and rule out B. And we have the same problem with D. The money he spends here is going to be greater than or equal to $1,620. Again, leaving him without the money to feed his family. And so we are now down to A and C. So even if you only could read the inequality symbols, you would have a 50-50 shot of guessing right now. So that's super nice. Now, another thing I want you to do is look for differences. I haven't even really gotten to the word problem yet, but I'm noticing that there's only two big differences between A and C. You can see they both have 200 times 425. And that should make sense to us because he's going to buy 200 gallons of fuel, which is currently selling for $4.25 per gallon. So that 200 times $4.25, that's him paying for his fuel. And then they both have plus. That makes sense too. He's going to add in another cost, right? It's not only fuel he has to buy, it's bait fish. So now we see 36 times H. And what did they say H meant? H, the number of cases of herring. So 36 times the number of cases of herring, or 87.5 times the number of cases of herring. So that's the only difference really between these two. And so we just need to figure out, do I need the number 36 or do I need the number 87.5? Now, remember what we were doing. You've got to remember what we were doing or you won't be able to tell. Because if you come look at herring, you're going to see both 36 and 87.5 show up. So it's like, which one do I need? They're both about herring. Well, yes, they're both about herring. But what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to figure out Marciano's little money problem. Dude has a money problem. We don't care about how many pounds are in a case right now. We care about how much this man is going to pay for a case. We're computing how much money he's going to spend. You don't need 36. You need 87.5. Why? Because that represents the cost of a case, and we're spending our money. C is the correct answer. It has us spending $87.50 per case of herring. All right, now that we have that information, though, look at how I try to trick you with the next example. It says use the inequality. Well, which inequality? The one we just wrote. To determine the amount of herring that Marciano will be able to purchase. Okay, now I've got some issues going on because look at the answers. They are in pounds. And the inequality I wrote didn't have anything to do with pounds. Remember, it had to do with money. So I've got some work to do here. Now, my inequality does solve for something, though. It has an H in it, right? And we said H was the number of cases of herring. So let's start there. If I know the number of cases of herring, then I can figure out about the pounds. And so I'm going to solve this inequality. Let's give ourselves plenty of room. I had people complaining that we did not have enough room on another problem that we did. How's that look? A little better. Okay, we are going to solve C here. So 200 times 425 plus, so the cost of the gas plus the cost of the herring has got to be less than or equal to $1,620. Oh, look, I said it right with my mouth and then my hand did not obey my mouth. All right. Now, solving this, I think I will start with my lovely wisdom principle number 1, which is simplify if you can. And I sure can simplify that. I can figure out the price of the gas. So 200 gallons of gas at $4.25 a gallon would cost me a total of $850. So I'm going to pay $850 for the gas, plus I'm going to pay $87.50 for every case of herring, and all of that cost has got to come to less than $1,620. All right, now I can't simplify in the left anymore. It's time to start solving. In order to do that, I need to get H alone. So let's take away the cost of the gas from our expression on the left, but also from our money that he has to work with, our $1,620. So if I have $850 and I subtract it away, I have nothing left. I have nothing to add with 87.5H. So I just have the $87.50 a case for the herring has got to be less than or equal to the money I have left. And the money I have left is $1,620 minus $850. So $770. Awesome. I've got $770 to spend or less on herring. And herring costs $87.50 a case. So I will divide away that $87.50, that 87.5 on both sides. and see how many cases, remember the H represented cases of herring. Know what your letters represent. So multiplying and dividing by 87.5 cancel. H is alone, my herring, just like I wanted. And that's going to be less than or equal to 770 divided by 87.5. Hello, Kate. 770 divided by 87.5. When I get 8.8. And I know every trick in the book by now. You guys, I've been doing this long enough. I know every way you guys stumble. And this is a really common issue. People get to H is equal to less than or equal to 8.8. They say, hey, there's an 8 pounds. 8.8 rounds up to 9 pounds. And they grab one of those answers. And either way, they're wrong. Don't just automatically assume once you solve an inequality or an equation, you have what you need. Remember what our H represented. H is the number of cases. If those said, no more than 8 cases or no more than 9 cases, I would find those numbers tempting and I would go with them. But that is not what they say. They say no more than 8 pounds. No more than 9 pounds. We know how many cases Marciano could buy, but we don't know how many pounds. So I want to stop right here. We've got to know what this H means in order to move on. This H means 8.8 cases. Now, is Marciano going to be able to go to the doc and say, hey, I want 8.8 cases. Cut one of those cases into 0.8. Probably not. The likelihood is if they sell it by cases, they're only going to let him buy a whole case. And so we do need to round this number. But again, be careful. I wrote this guy the way I did. It was for you advanced students because you need to be able to track with me now and listen to this, or experienced students, I should say. But track with me here. If you come up to the doc and you say, I have enough money for 8.8 cases, give me 9. That owner at the dock there, he is not going to give you 9 cases. You can tell him all you want up and down that your 3rd grade math teacher told you when it was 0.8, he has to round up. But he's going to say to you, come back when you have the money. You only have enough money to buy 8 full cases. I only sell full cases. And so the fact of the matter is, even though you have part of the money for another case, really all you can buy is 8 cases. This is an example of where the real life is going to trump any of those rules that your teacher taught you. So you really need to understand how the real world works. The real world works this way. If you don't have the money, sorry, come back later. I'm only going to give you what you have enough money for. So he can only buy 8 cases of herring. Now that we know that, let's deal with the case size. If he's buying 8 cases and each one of those 8 cases is 36 pounds, well then, he is going to be able to buy 8 cases times 36 pounds each, or let's see, 8 times 36, 288 pounds. Now, of course, he was able to buy 8 cases or less, so he could certainly get less than 288 pounds or equal to 288 pounds, but he can't get any more than that. The correct answer again is C. Oh, and I did what I always say that I never do, which is make all answers C. I swear to goodness, I don't usually do that, you guys. I go through a lot of trouble to not do that, but it just happened to work out this time. So no more than 288 pounds is what he can buy. And you can see how this might have looked like the more challenging problem to most students. They freak out at that language of algebra, but it was actually pretty simple. It was this one. Problems like this that really require that high level of reasoning. These are the reason why students will come to me and say, Kate, I remember everything you taught me. I did it so well and my score went down. What happened? And I still didn't score what I wanted to do. Why'd I get a 144? It's because of this close reading. You really have to know what your letters mean. You really have to understand the units on your numbers. That's why I stress it so much. So I swear, I'm not just trying to be anal. Really need you to have that mathematical reasoning to deal with these more complex style GED examples. Now, will they all be this complex? No, but the ones that are, you really need to think through. And so what I would do in a problem like this is probably guess I mean, honestly, if you thought about it, if you just guessed and moved on, you would not have chosen 8 or 9 pounds of fish. You would have known, yeah, Marciano is not going to be a commercial fisherman and only go out for a week with 8 pounds. You probably would have guessed one of these and then flag it and then come back to it at the end of the test when you're chill. You know you have time left and you can really think and give this the kind of mental energy that it deserves. All right, you guys, I'm proud of you. You did some challenging work with me. Happy learning.